Stock Exchange, later this month, will hold its final annual meetings as a mutual exchange. Of course, the AGM due on November the 18th will see special resolutions passed that will see the exchange transform into an entity limited by shares as a group of companies and listing its own shares on the same stock exchange. Everyone, let's welcome everyone to the Markets and Economy in November. Johnson Chukwu is setting off the month for us. He is a CEO at Cowry Asset Management. Good evening, sir, and thanks for coming.
Boston, thank you for having me.
It's good to see you.
And welcome to the new month.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you. This is a big month for those of you on the marketplace, especially the stock exchange. This is the stock exchange going to what you call a new horizon. So what's your take?
On the performance of the stock exchange?
This exchange is transforming from a company limited by, from being a mutual exchange to one limited by shares. This is a new horizon entirely. Its 61-year history is ending and is starting a new one.
Well, Boston, what I would say is that the exchange has gone through a lot of transformation. And if you see where we're coming from, like what you rightly pointed out now, we're moving from an exchange that's limited by guarantee to now an exchange that is limited by shares. And that transformation is going to be a sea movement from where we were coming from. Because the benefit of being a demutualization is so enormous. And I can list some of them. You're going to delink ownership from supervision of trading activities or trading rights. You are going to attract a lot more foreign capital into the economy, not just foreign capital, local capital. You will attract the best quality of workforce. But because you are demutualized and you are now a quoted company within the exchange, you are also able to attract additional capital that will lead to further development of the market. So both for shareholders of the Nigerian Stock Exchange PLC and market operators like Cowry and other market operators, as well as investors in the market, there are benefits for every one of us from this demutualization has almost been completed.
I'm very particular about what it will mean for you market participants in particular.
Okay, in the first place, we are going to be shareholders of the Nigerian Stock Exchange PLC, NSE PLC, as market operators. We are going to have the shares of NSE PLC traded. So we'll have our customers buy those shares and sell as well for our customers. We are going to have a far more transparent market regulator. We will have a market that will be driven by profit objective, which means that it will encourage the market operator, that the market regulator in this instance, to innovate. And then we will also see a lot more foreign investors coming to the market, because remember what happens when you have a demutualized exchange. It shows the level of transparency because the level of quality of corporate governance is higher. And that will open the market for more investment by foreign portfolio investors. And we all be participants in that market. So for us as market operators, it's a new vintage.
It's a new vintage. Demutualization, in another sense, is a little bit like privatizing a government-owned company. So I'm interested in about investors, in particular the retail investors, local retail investors. Will they get a better deal? Will the listed companies, or what you call the issuers, will it be a better new beginning for them, as it were, or a continuation of the excellent stock exchange that we've known for 6 decades?
No, you're going to see a transformation or a mutation. I think a mutation is more like it, because you're moving from what was and what was not. And what you are moving to is a new entity entirely. But the basic thing that will happen to retail investors, because we're going to have a lot more market participants. And what you look for is that you're pushing for a perfect market environment where you have many buyers and many sellers, which will mean that the market prices will be reflective of the intrinsic worth of those value of those stocks traded. And therefore, investors will be in a position to reap the benefits of taking positions in the equities market. You are going to see an improvement in liquidity in the market because more funds will come in, more operators will come in as a result of the increased level of confidence and trust that investors will have on the market. So for retail investors, they can always sell their stock when they want to sell, because they are going to have many market operators or many market investors. And like I mentioned earlier, the market prices will be more reflective of the intrinsic worth of the company. Remember a couple of months back, one of the things we complain is that the market values or the market prices were not reflective of the underlying value of the company, and many companies were undervalued on the exchange. I think that will correct because you're going to see a lot more interest in the exchange.
Okay, just a quick one before we take a break with you. Johnson, the September monetary policy meeting of the central bank gave us a very big jump in terms of a rally. Do you think the last meeting, which is taking place this month, will give us the same thing? What do you see?
What I think will happen is that the momentum may not be as high as it was, but we're likely going to see the next 2 months end in the positive. If you look at what happened in October alone, the market gained 13.76% in the month of October. If you add that to about 4.9% it gained between 22nd of September and 30th of September, you've seen a market appreciation about 18.7% since the last MPC meeting. I think that momentum of 18.67% is high enough, but what you're going to see, we're going to ride on that momentum. I don't see a market rally of another 18.7% in the next 2 months, but we should end the year strong positive.
Okay, so after the break, Johnson, we're going to speak to you about the COVID-19, the full reopening of business. We'll talk about the PMI and, of course, a whole little bit more when we return. Let's come back to you. Everyone, after the break, stand by. Don't go anywhere. So let's go straight to the reopening of the economy. Do you think this full reopening across the country will lift the PMI to 50 and beyond, perhaps for November and December?
Yes, boosting, but the other factor that will also contribute to a positive or an expansionary PMI, Purchasing Managers Index, in the month of November and December. Remember, as we enter the last months of the ember month of the year, we see a lot of heightened activities. We see families make their Christmas shoppings. We see people want to complete their houses, whatever little funds they have. They want to either prepare for merriment. We have weddings and all forms of social activities. And luckily for Nigeria, we've seen a slowdown. We've not seen such uptick in COVID-19 infection. So I think you will see, as a rate of demand pool pressure, you're going to see an expansionary PMI in the month of November, beyond the fact that the businesses are opening. So businesses are opening, that will also be added to the fillip that will come from demand for Yuletide by families making shoppings that will encourage the manufacturers to go back into production. So what you will see is that the warehouses that have been stocked full will now see some depletion as people start their consumption, restore their consumption.
But are you concerned about a likely second wave of coronavirus in Nigeria and its impact on businesses? Some folks were saying those days, a week or two, by the NSAS protests, everyone, hundreds and hundreds milling together, and folks struggling for palliatives that are broken into warehouses, and all of that could be a problem. Johnson?
Well, yeah, Boston, my take on a second wave of COVID infection in the country is that it's not likely going to happen. And this is based on the fact that what we know about COVID is that it's a flu, and flus are most effective during the cold periods. And luckily for us, we didn't have so much infection during the rainy seasons. We're moving towards the dry season, at which point we are going to face the heat waves. And we all know from the information already available on COVID is that it is not a very strong virus in a very hot environment. And if you talk of the interactions that took place during the demonstration grounds of NSAS, among NSAS youths, you also recognize the fact that if you go to the Nigerian markets, the natural open market environment, you see a lot of interaction, physical interaction among traders and customers. And we didn't see an uptick, an upswing in infection. We're not seeing that in the market. So I don't think the interface or interaction that happened at the demonstration grounds or protest grounds will lead to a major upswing in infection. I think my take is that with a lot of Nigerians have had infection, their system resolved it without them knowing. Many of them had complained about symptoms similar to malaria. And I don't know, I can't say categorically, but I have a strong feeling. My hunch tells me that our environment has fought this virus for us, and that I shouldn't be worried. I don't think we should be afraid of a second wave. We are having second wave in Western countries because they are moving towards another winter, and the environment is cold, and this is an infection that is more effective in a very cold climate.
I just love your optimism, Johnson. I just share that. Let us hope it will stay that way. So we have about a minute. Let's talk about the banks and the investors' appetite. Do you think these earnings from Zenith, UBA, Access, and the big names will keep appetite very red hot for the remaining 8 weeks of the year?
Yes, I think they will keep the appetite for banking stocks. The banking stocks have proven to be gilt-edge investments today, because we've seen, despite the slowdown in the earnings of some of the other sectors, the banking sector has remained very strong. I think they will continue to command investors' confidence, and a lot more votes will go into their stocks in the coming weeks.
Johnson Chukwu, thank you so much. Let's keep an eye out for those numbers. Have a great evening, and thank you for raising the curtain on the new month for us here on Arise Exchange.